Imagine how good it feels to send an entire squad of rose skins back to the lobby like this. In this video, I'm going to quickly and scientifically explain what is essentially a whole new game just hiding within the usual Warzone. First, I'm going to discuss why I play like this and the data about the Cali sticks. Second, we'll do an in-depth look at the stun mechanic and how the stuns should be used. Third, we'll go through a perfect loadout for this playstyle and how every part of this loadout matters. Finally, I'll explain how to engage an enemy using this tactic and also some of the general rules of playing this way, so stick around to see it in action. So let's start this off with the what and the why. This punk rock attitude towards Warzone was created as a way to rebel against the community, but mostly a way to rebel against the way things have gone for Warzone. It wasn't perfect, but Warzone was clearly a game made by perfectionists who had a real passion for developing a polished AAA game. And let's get real here, Black Ops Cold War looks and moves like shit. I mean, these guys couldn't even bother to do a 20-second Google search about a weapon before putting it into their own game. So we have AK submachine guns that shoot SKS rounds, we have a 50 caliber Pellington, and among many other things, but most ridiculous, we have silenced revolvers with extended mags. So yeah, I'm pretty much convinced that nobody at Treyarch has ever seen a gun in real life. Obviously, nobody bought the game, and that's why it's been on sale since it released. And you know Activision needs that money, so what do? They cram all that Cold War stuff into Warzone so that kids will buy Cold War in order to get access to the shitty skins and the shitty guns for use in Warzone. Since Cold War integration effectively ruined Verdansk, my squad and I have been dropping into Rebirth Island with the sole objective of making kids rage and getting the most disrespectful kills that we can. The executions, of which you'll see plenty in this video, are the ultimate goal of this playstyle. So if you have to, take some of that money that you saved from not buying any battle passes since Cold War dropped and use it to get yourself the most disrespectful execution you can find. The Cali sticks can be unlocked through completing the challenge shown on the screen, or by purchasing one of the listed Modern Warfare bundles if you're lucky enough to find them in the store. Although you can use this playstyle with any melee weapon, I'm about to tell you why the Cali sticks are worth the challenge. Firstly, the Cali sticks provide you with a movement speed of roughly 104%. This is the fastest way to move in the game, and it really does feel insane the first time you use them. To put that into perspective, a PKM with a Warzone configuration gives you a 4.2 meters per second movement speed. A meta Grau build gives you 4.4 meters per second, and a meta MP5 gives you 4.8. The Cali stick's movement speed is 5.2 meters per second. If these numbers don't seem like much to you, remember that Warzone is a game where fights are decided by the tens of milliseconds. As well as allowing you to catch up with the rose-skinned soy boys as they run away in fear, being able to move this fast is an advantage that shouldn't be overlooked, especially because of the next statistic. The combat knife from Modern Warfare has a lunge range of roughly 1.4 meters. The lunge range of the Cali sticks is 3 meters. What this means is that on top of the extreme movement speed, if you push that trigger button while being within 3 meters of an enemy player, you'll essentially teleport to them and land the first hit. After your first hit, the Cali sticks also have the quickest succession in hits than any melee weapon, with only around 200 milliseconds between strikes. In comparison, the riot shield's hit rate is over 1 second and the combat knife is over half a second. Being a melee weapon, you also deal more damage to down players, particularly useful in situations where you're competing against more than one target. It takes 2 strikes to down a player and 2 more to eliminate them. Altogether, this means you can down someone in 200 milliseconds and eliminate them in less than 1 second. For our third point comes the most crucial tool of this playstyle, which is the stun grenade, and it's not as simple as you might think. The first thing to know here is that it takes approximately 1.5 seconds between throwing the stun grenade and its detonation. In familiarizing yourself with this delay lies a crucial skill required for this playstyle. The stun grenade has an effective radius of 6 meters, but the intensity and the duration of the stun effect decreases as you move from the epicenter of the explosion towards the edge of this effective radius. Beyond 6 meters, the enemy will not be stunned whatsoever. For this reason, it's important to get that stun to detonate as close to your target as possible, as this will keep him stunned for just over 5 seconds. In other words, you have to apply a lead angle to your throw in such a way that the stun detonates exactly where your target will be in 1.5 seconds, not where he is now. Another important skill to develop with the stun grenades has to do with your minimum range. If your target is close enough to you that throwing the grenade directly forward will result in the enemy being beyond that 6 meter radius after the 1.5 second fuse has elapsed, you need to get creative with the throw. The key part here is that being below this minimum range is actually favorable to this strategy. The closer you are when you stun, the better your chance of survival. This can be achieved by bouncing the grenade, usually off the ground, but don't be afraid to bounce them off the door frames or the walls too. Okay, so now I'm in Warzone and I'm going to be explaining the loadout. As your primary, the riot shield, of course. You can put a camo if you want to blend in, or a colorful one if you want to stand out. Secondary, as we discussed, the Kali sticks. You can do this with any other melee weapon, but I don't recommend the Kadashis because they do not have a lunge range whatsoever, and also they actually slow you down instead of speeding you up like the other melee weapons. The perks are very important. First, we have EOD. This decreases your damage from explosives, which is particularly important because people are going to be throwing grenades, Semtexes, and C4s at you. What this perk does is make it so that they won't be able to kill you as easily. For example, it'll take more than just one C4 to kill you. For the second perk, we have Restock. This is extremely important as it allows you to recharge your stun grenades and replenish them every 50 seconds. What this means is that you'll always have a stun grenade in hand ready to stun and kill a player. It's basically impossible to use the playstyle we've been talking about without this perk. Amped is an interesting perk. It's required so that you can switch from the riot shield to the Kali sticks quickly and be able to hit your target. But also there's a hidden stat which means that you're able to throw your tacticals and your lethals faster. So essentially, it's important because if you're aiming at someone and with a riot shield and you need to throw a throwing knife, for example, at them, the fact that the throw will go out faster means you'll be exposed for less time, and if they're shooting at you, you'll take less damage. For my lethal, I use a throwing knife. Some of my friends use thermite. The throwing knife will be 2 throwing knives to kill if the enemy has full plates, whereas the thermite will down them if you stick them. But I think the throwing knife is more useful because they die instantly if they don't have full plates. And of course, for the tactical, you have the stun grenade. So that's your loadout. And finally, let's understand the strategy itself. In simple terms, you'll stun your target through your shield. While they're stunned, you'll loop around them faster than they can track you due to them being stunned. And then you either kill them or use your finisher. However, there are some important things to know in order to really master this style. In almost all cases, you'll want to be as close as possible to your enemy before stunning them, which is where the floor bounces we showed before will come into importance. This is because being closer to the enemy reduces the radius of your path around them. The smaller this radius, the harder it will be for them to track and shoot you. If there are obstacles around, stun your enemy and take an unexpected path to get to them. Just remember that they'll be stunned for a maximum of 5 seconds, so if you take too long to get to them, you're more likely to be shot. There's a strong mental requirement to this playstyle, since your ability to kill depends heavily on your surroundings. You'll need to make a series of split-second decisions, usually under the extreme pressure of being shot at, while their teammates rush in to try and kill you too. Cool-headedness under pressure is key, but it's also what makes the playstyle so fun. You need a sort of warrior mentality. Any slight panic, like meleeing before your lunge range, missing a stun grenade, making too long of a flank, or even sprinting, which puts your shield down to the side, are mistakes that'll get you killed. You can only stay alive if you make no mistakes. Keep your plates full at all times. A great part of your engagements will end with you having no plates and less than half your health left before you kill your targets. Aside from the engagements themselves, only use the sticks to move quicker between locations. Use the shield when you could be in any danger at all, such as moving through an open space or a choke point. You should never have your sticks out unless you're running towards a stunned enemy or tactical sprinting to cover distance to your next position. Trying to rush an enemy without stunning them and just the sticks will likely end in you dying. So, as a reward, you'll get the biggest adrenaline rush that I've ever gotten from a video game, the funnest way to play this game for sure, and the satisfaction of destroying a squad of players using only some wooden sticks in a game where people spend days perfecting their gun configurations and their perfect loadouts. That feeling is quite hard to beat.